Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After the news you need to know about, we run you through the fan Q&A where we answer friends' questions. Very, I would say, depressing collection of news before free agency starts, which is really close. It's going to be interesting to see how things really unfold, but as we're going to get into in the show, not great news if you're a Dolphins fan. This first news story comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins and Andrew Van Ginkel have mutual interest in new deal. Drew Rosenhaus, his agent, said, quote, he'll be very well sought after. Whether or not he remains with the Dolphins, there's mutual interest, but obviously it's going to come down to, I'm sure, the start of free agency and what the market looks like, and how the Dolphins are going to compete with other clubs. So basically, I mean, it's nice to hear this mutual interest, but clearly they're also going to test free agency. Clearly they're also going to test free agency and see what happens. It's, one of the, I think, more important pieces to keep is Van Ginkel. Now, not having the full offseason picture matters, but the thing I will say about Andrew Van Ginkel in particular is that he's I think he's still not reached his peak. I think we saw some of that last year, and played at a level that was an above average starter in the NFL. Like, he was clearly above average. Honestly, I think he can easily reach legitimate Pro Bowl status in his career. I think there's a season in him like that. I still think he was misused despite having a career season under Vic Fangio. I think he could have had bigger numbers if he played his natural position more and took more snaps there. I think just look at his production and his snaps, where the production comes from. So, I mean, if you think about it, dude, he was literally used as an off-ball linebacker, middle linebacker, which is crazy. On third down, and I still don't understand that decision. But But the point is that he's a great player. I don't think he's had his best season yet, and he plays one of the most important positions in the National Football League. So there's a lot of people on that list that we need to retain and we need to keep. I think that if the team is going in the direction that is being reported, that Tua is going to be extended, he's going to command a big number. If that's true and that's the direction the team's going in, then if they do the right thing and surround Tua with a better offensive line and they invest in that, then, that's a different story. Then I'm okay with letting some of these other players go. But again, not having the full offseason picture, it's hard to judge it yet. I mean, who knows what they're going to do. But again, if they don't play their cards right, and people like Omar Kelly have pointed this out, then this could be a disastrous offseason for Chris Grier, and it's all up to him. He's got to make good decisions. So far the decisions haven't been things that I would do, that's for sure, but we'll see. If you look at his resume, phenomenal trader, great. Honestly, I think he's done a really good job as the GM, but this is a very important offseason. I disagree with some people, most people, I think, that think he's definitely not a bad general manager by any stretch of the imagination. So I just hope he does the right thing. But again, we already let go of Xavier Howard. Van Ginkel is in purgatory. We have no idea what's going to happen with that. It's definitely not. It doesn't make you feel great as a fan of the team. This next news story is something that surprised me. Chris Grier, this comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins leave the door open for Xavier Howard. Chris Grier also noted that the door is still open to cornerback Xavier Howard, remaining with the Dolphins on a new deal. Miami informed the veteran last month that he will be released in a cost-cutting move, but not until the new league year opens on March 13th. He did say that in his press conference, that they are leaving the door open for X. Didn't really expect that. Clearly, they want another corner. They need two, to be honest with you. I shouldn't say two. That's not what I meant. They need, well, they need answers at two cornerback positions. I think they have their outside corner in Cam Smith. They need a slot guy. Now, whatever they choose to do with Cam Smith, I have no idea. Whether he plays inside or outside, that's something that we're going to learn in the offseason. But they do need a corner. As much as I hate to say it, Cater Coe's development went down the tubes, and he just had one of the worst seasons a Dolphin has ever had at that position. So, that's a position that needs to be addressed. And clearly, if you look at the numbers, and it's one of the more staggering numbers that you can find, regarding the Dolphins' defense, is the middle of the field. Basically, nobody played there for the Dolphins' defense last year. It was the worst part of the defense, and that has to be fixed. So they need DB help inside. And we're going to talk about some other things that were being alluded to after the combine later. It seems that they're in the market for more of an outside corner. I don't know what that means for the slot position, whether that means, it's Cam Smith. What I don't know what they're doing with Cam Smith. It's just continue. I don't know. He had a good preseason. His last preseason game, he got beat on a double move. Wasn't the greatest thing, but I loved the way he looked and played. He looked like he could play the position. And so I don't know. It's very confusing. And again, not until we have the full picture can we, judge it. But if you take him with the rumors, it seems like they're looking for an outside corner, not necessarily an inside corner, which makes me kind of worried for what the development of Cam Smith and what they actually think of him. Because Vic is no longer there. If the Dolphins still have doubts in him, then that's more of a widespread problem than, that means more than one person thinks that in the building, which isn't good. Thinks that Cam Smith can't play. This is the worst news of all time. Not since, this really kind of bummed me out. This next news story comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins unlikely to use franchise tag on Christian Wilkins. Even considering the recent cap spike, the Dolphins are still more than $31 million over the new NFL spending limit with 10 days left in the 2023 league year. That will create challenges, and it will impact the team's ability to retain its top free agent. Although Krisker said a Christian Wilkins franchise tag would be on the table, ESPN.com's Jeremy Fowler notes the team is unlikely to cuff the 5-year defensive tackle. That's a weird way to say that. The team is unlikely to cuff the 5-year defensive tackle. Should have just said unlikely to franchise tag. But as it stands, Wilkins appears barely a week away from free agency. After making strides as a pass rusher, the former first-round pick would be poised to do well on the open market. There's already been reports from Bleacher Report that the Texans and Cleveland Browns are interested in Christian Wilkins. I've also, if we do end up letting him go, which would be a huge mistake. What is the franchise tag even for? These are things that, continue to blow my mind. But where was I going with this? He was one of my favorite Dolphins, and it would suck to see him leave from a fan. He's a great player, too, and he's in his prime. He has many more years of his prime. And he's a Dolphin through and through. I really do believe that. And to see him play for another team, I haven't felt this way about a player in a long time. It's going to suck, dude. That's going to hurt. And I hope they can somehow find... It doesn't seem like that's going to happen, which is frustrating. That from everything that we've read out of the combine, that the team doesn't plan to tag him. Some things that they've said in the media haven't been reassuring either. The reason I say that is because they literally can say about Tua that, yeah, we're going to extend him. Emphatically say that. Why they didn't say that about Christian Wilkins is weird. And clearly the two camps haven't seen eye to eye for years on a contract. They should have gotten this contract done a year ago when they were talking about it last offseason, but they didn't. So now we're in this situation where he has a career season and he's hitting free agency. It's frustrating. And to lose one of our cornerstones of the team would hurt the team, and it hurts the talent level of the team, and it hurts the win-loss column. It really does. So I hope this deal gets done. I think he's the most important player. Him and Robert Hunt, I think, are the most important of the offseason. And if the deal doesn't get done, I'm interested to see how they pivot and kind of remake what the defense is going to be. Because, again, I mean, even Chris Greer said that, you know, this is about, I mean, this team is built to win in the next 2 years. And it does have a nice, young, older talent influx of talent, you know, on both sides. There's a lot of good young players, there's a lot of good older players. It's a good mix. So to lose one of the good younger players would be a huge hit. And I don't know. I hope a deal gets done. He's a great player. It's fan base. One of the, you know, in a fan base that's been deprived of great players for the last 20 plus years. He's one of the best ones. And we can't lose him. He's too good. So I hope a deal gets done, but it doesn't really look like it will be. Excuse me, a deal will get done. These next two stories are weird. Teams are showing interest in cornerback. This comes from Pro Football Rumors, excuse me. Teams showing interest in Saints cornerback Marshawn Lattimore. Apparently, who is the reporter? ESPN's Jeremy Fowler has reported that the Lions and Dolphins are teams to watch on the cornerback market, generally speaking. He also lists that the Dolphins are, this is a report from Bleacher Report, the Dolphins are also eyeing L'Jarius Sneed, who is one of the best players in the NFL. So that would be interesting. So then again, it goes, this is what I'm saying. It's like, where are they pivoting to? Are they rebuilding the secondary? Is that what they're trying to do? And honestly, if they were in a room with me right now and they're like, we want to revamp the two cornerback positions. We still have two good outside rushers. We think we can kind of maybe add depth there in the draft, or maybe with some lower level guys in free agency. But that would cost us Christian Wilkins. I don't know. That's not a terrible argument to make. To do that, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I still would disagree with it. I still would rather have Christian Wilkins in the front, because it's like, then my argument against that would be Cam Smith you drafted last season. The slot cornerback position, you can fix that. It doesn't have to be a high profile guy to come in and fix that position, to get better at that position. So to me, you already have the resources in-house to the problem. So we don't have to go out and get Snead or Marshawn Lattimore. We can retain Christian Wilkins, and I would rather address that position in the draft rather than go after a big name free agent. That's just my opinion on the matter. So to hear that Christian Wilkins isn't going to get tagged, and then there's more reports that, the Dolphins are going after big name corners, it's just weird. You just got rid of Xavier Howard. And I honestly don't necessarily believe this report, because it just doesn't make sense. Why? Like, unless they really hate Cam Smith, that's the only thing that I could it's the only thing I could see that would be like, oh, that makes sense that they're aggressively going after corners. But then again, why won't you just keep X if you were going to do that? Unless you just don't believe in X's talent level anymore. So I don't know. I'm not Chris Greer. All I know is that I would retain Christian Wilkins, and I would not go after L'Jarius Sneed. If they can flip that, and somehow they land someone like that, who's that high of a, I mean, that's a great. L'Jarius Sneed's a phenomenal player. If they can somehow flip it like that, then it's hard. Then I could be okay with losing Christian Wilkins, but I still disagree with it. I think that's it for this. It's just kind of depressing. It's like what, and then the news is that Robert Hunt is gonna and this comes from Bleacher Report, Robert Hunt's going to command high. He's going to have a lot of bidders in the open market. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, I don't understand what are we doing this offseason? What is the plan? How do we get better? What are we doing? Like, are we not okay? So if Christian's not coming back, you cut Xavier Howard, Van Ginkel's up in free agency. Robert Hunt, he haven't resolved that issue. I mean, Chris Greer literally said he's going to test free agency. It's like, what's the objective of this offseason? It's very confusing. I don't really understand. Yeah, let's not re-sign any of these players. Years before this, what is the plan? That should be the name of this episode. What is Chris Greer's plan? What is he thinking? And again, it sucks to kind of speculate because it's really all we can do at this point. But it's like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, everybody is hitting free agency. The only one that he got a deal done with, before he could hit the mark, Austin Jackson, which ended up being a good move. Because honestly, I mean, Austin put together a really good year from start to finish. I mean, he had some problems sometimes, like in the Chiefs game, he kind of struggled a little bit. And then that's pretty much it. He never really had like an awful game. So I don't really know what Chris Greer is doing. Don't really understand it. Is Tua the priority? Because if he is, then, he has to do a better job of doing everything he can to make sure he's successful. And building around a pocket passing quarterback is, you have to do one thing, and that's shore up the offensive line. So it's like, I don't know what the theme is. I don't understand what we're doing right now as a franchise to get better. We're not using the franchise tag on anybody. I don't really understand that. Tua does, if we get a deal done with Tua, it does save us money in the short term. So I guess we're waiting on that. Maybe that's what they're waiting on. I really don't know. That's really what this. I mean, all of these news stories are very speculative. Other than the Christian Wilkins stuff, which does feel not great from the vibe, and from what we've heard. Like I said, I mean, the big one is like, okay, they are capable of saying this is what we're doing with one player, and they didn't do that with the other. So, saying, oh, Tua is going to be here next year, we're working on an extension. Why not say that about Christian Wilkins? I can't imagine losing him and what that's going to do to not only the culture but the locker room. That's a big hole that they're going to have to fill if he leaves. So, and we're talking about a guy that's been with us since the beginning of all of this, the very beginning. It's going to be absolutely brutal to lose a player like that. And to compound that with the fact that there's really no clear vision to this offseason so far. We really don't know. Like, it's like, all right, we want to get better. We didn't, especially as fans, it's like we had a home field and a division title in our hands last season. We want to get better. And right now, it's kind of looking kind of strange. Like, it's very foggy, can't really see what's the path. And we won't know until, not too long. And I hope something can get done. But we'll see what the path is very soon. But so far, or early on, set news, after the combine at least, not great. The good news is the draft is really good. I really like this draft. I've said that many times. I think they could literally get a player that can make a big difference depending on who they pick. That can literally be a great player, not a good player, a great player. It obviously depends on what they do, but a lot of really good players in this draft. So I don't know. We'll see what Chris does this free agency. But so far, not the best news. That definitely not news you want to hear as a Dolphins fan. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys enjoyed. Kind of dreading this free agency, I'm not going to lie. And I'll see you guys in the next one.